We're going to be out here for a few more minutes, but we have some special guests that have come. A lot of you have come a long way, and you know I'm talking about that awesome traffic, right? So we're here to fight for the 80,000+ children in our district who do not feel they can come and speak here for obvious reasons of intimidation. Their parents have been belittled, they have been marginalized, they have been intimidated at their campuses, they have been treated like they are don't count at all. And so we are here to fight for them. Jesus said that if we loved him, we would love what matters to his heart.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
When I was a teacher for this school district, and to this very day, I love those kids. It was the highlight of my life and my career. To walk away from my career to teaching children who were underprivileged and had a lot of hurdles was very hard for me to say goodbye to that. But I made a promise to the Lord that they had become so special to me because he had given me the privilege to teach them for a while, that I would speak for them and I would fight for them when they did not know they could do it for themselves. And that's why we're doing what we're doing today. So we want to move on from here, and Jennifer, come on up.
Hey, Jennifer. Hi. Hello, my name is Jennifer Fleck. I'm a candidate for state representative in House District 47 in Travis County. I got involved in the issue of sex education as a concerned parent in 2012. I have stayed involved in this issue as a parent, an attorney, and as a legislative activist. Historically, the differences in sex education have focused on two different teaching approaches, called comprehensive sex education and sexual risk avoidance. Comprehensive sex education focuses on risk reduction while advocating for safe sexual activity. Sexual risk avoidance aligns with Texas law and educates students on the health benefits of avoiding unhealthy risk. Based on my observation, the topic of sex education is changing. It is no longer about sex education and sexual orientation, but it is equally about gender ideology. An ideology that seeks social change with insufficient medical evidence of long-term effects. An ideology that is willing to sacrifice children on the altar of a harmful social agenda. Why have cases of children declaring that they are in the wrong body almost quadrupled in the past 4 years? This is a serious question with devastating ramifications. Gender dysphoria is a highly complex problem with many social, emotional, and mental causes. Confusion about gender is not just accompanied by dress up and a name change or even same-gender sexual partners, all of which can change if a child changes his or her mind. Transition services, however, progress to medical and surgical intervention with insufficient or no attention to the serious, irreversible damage this can cause, and with very disturbingly superficial attitudes to the issue of consent in young children. Minors under the age of 18 cannot legally enter into a contract. Children cannot legally or smoke in the state of Texas under the age of 21. Minors cannot legally consent to sex under the age of 18. Minors cannot serve in the military. These laws are put into place to protect minors from their own decisions also, but from predators. Why then would society, school, encourage, affirm, and advocate that a child that likely or does not understand the long-term ramifications of changing his or her gender, again, a decision that has irreversible consequences? The schools have not thought this through to its devastating conclusion. Do advocates who assert tolerance, and inclusion. Understand what gender transitioning really means. Do you know that studies show that gender reassignment hormones can result in infertility in men and women, girls and boys? Is this what sex educators in schools have in mind when they talk about tolerance and inclusion? That they may affirm a child whose brain has little or no ability to appreciate the impact of their short-term decisions on their long-term future? Do schools know that by affirming a child's thought that they may be in the wrong body might lead to surgery that alters their genitalia and other body parts that include the following? For males, the testicles and most of the penis is removed. For females, the breasts and ovaries are removed. And a penis-like appendage is constructed by using tissue from a young lady's arm. If a child wanted to cut themselves, would we allow it? What are we allowing in this generation? Studies show that transsexuals after surgery have considerably higher risk for mortality, suicidal behavior, and psychiatric morbidity than the rest of the population. Austin ISD's proposed sex education is full of confusing gender ideology lessons that affirm this destructive confusion. Lessons that include suggesting that elementary children stop using pronouns like boy and girl and mom and dad. Discussion topics that include gender identity, gender expression, and non-binary spectrum of identities. This is an unhealthy agenda that's destructive and confusing to young people today. It is harmful to purposely confuse children about their identity. This is neither healthy nor safe. Families are trusting our schools to protect, direct, and guide children to their best possible academic and healthy outcomes. Austin ISD, is this your best?
Next we have Monica Cline.
Hi, my name is Ayala, Cline, and I actually have a very unique story. So I am a former comprehensive sex educator. I worked as a comprehensive sex educator for over 10 years. I was trained by the LGBTQ community. I basically worked and lived and socialized with the gay community for over 10 years. They were my friends, they were my family. And I started in comprehensive sex education because I truly thought that I really wanted to care for people. I wanted to help people to avoid HIV infection, STD infection. And what I hear from the Texas Freedom Network, and what I hear from informed parents of Austin, I think is what they're called, and concerned parents, is actually we all care about our kids. We're all concerned about our children. But this is what I learned about comprehensive sex education. So if you're wondering why am I speaking alongside concerned parents of Texas, is because for over 10 years I saw how comprehensive sex education met the population where they were at and left them there. The comprehensive sex education does sexualize our children, so much so that when I was teaching Austin students in an alternative school in East Austin, a 13-year-old girl asked me during an HIV prevention, which is risk reduction, the same as comprehensive sex education, and she asked me how she could improve a sexual activity that she was doing with boys that gave her a negative reaction. And I asked her, I said, well, let me clarify, or when you tell me that you're having this negative reaction to this sexual activity, have you ever considered just not doing it? And all of those kids stopped for a second and they stared at me, and their response was, no one's ever told us that. No one's ever told us that we don't have to have sex. You see, comprehensive sex education and risk reduction education basically says, you've started puberty, welcome to a sexual world. You have to start becoming sexually active. Now, a lot of people say that's not true, it doesn't promote it. But it does. It actually does promote it, not because we're consciously actually wanting to promote it, but because we're so worried they're going to get infected or have an unplanned pregnancy. I share that concern with everyone. But the young people, there are polls that actually say, 2015 poll of Teens Speak Out, teenagers said comprehensive sex education pressures them more to have sex than their own peers. So they're telling us, I think we need to listen to our youth. Our youth are telling us that this kind of education actually pressures them and gives them this expectation that they have to be sexually active. Now, the other concern that I have about this, and the videos that I watched at TFN, is this belief that parents somehow are bad, parents are ignorant, parents are ill-equipped, and parents, some households are even unsafe. And I think that's just a lot of fear-mongering. Not every household is unsafe. And parents are not ignorant. We're not stupid. We obviously had children. We know how to have sex. And we do know about the STD rates. Do you know about the STD rates? Do you know that comprehensive sex education and risk reduction has been in Texas since the 60s? Yeah, because it's called STD prevention. It's risk reduction. Do you know that HIV prevention actually started around the 90s? In Austin and in all of Texas? It's risk reduction, it's comprehensive sex education. Planned Parenthood trained me how to reach out to teenagers. And this education has been in Texas and in all through our nation for many years. And have you read the most recent reports from the CDC about STD and HIV infection? They're calling it that they're in epidemic rates. Our youth, ages 15 to 24, are greatly impacted. They are over 50% of the STD and HIV rates in our nation, but they only account for 27% of our population. And they have been receiving risk reduction education through the STD prevention, HIV prevention, and through comprehensive sex education. It's not working. I want to protect our children just like all of the groups here do. I believe that every parent here really has the very best in mind for their children, but I'm telling you, it's not comprehensive sex education. It has to be another approach, and we have to listen to our kids who are saying that this is pressuring them to have sex. When I have a 13-year-old girl telling me that she doesn't like a sexual activity and wants me to teach her how to do it better so she can keep doing it, and I tell her, hey, you don't have to do it, and for them to say, no one's ever told us that we don't have to do it, that's a problem. That is a huge problem. We want our children to grow up to be healthy and strong, to have healthy friendships, to succeed academically, to have a optimal health, like future, and optimal health in their future, long term. Here's a report that I'll have on my website so you can see it. It's from the Institute for Research and Evaluation. It's their 2019 report. And it used all the data from comprehensive sex education, and it actually shows that it hasn't been effective. It did not, it increased sexual activity, but it also shows that condom use, it did increase, but it did not sustain. After 8 months, the kids stopped using condoms as frequently as they had hoped. They're not effective. We need to do more research. We need to look at all of the options. Comprehensive sex education is not the end-all be-all. As a matter of fact, it's actually teaching our children high-risk activities. Basically, high-risk activities are being normalized to our children and to adults. All in the name of what? Sexual rights? All in the name of comprehensive sex education? Listen, our faithfulness and our fidelity and our commitment should be to our kids, not to something called comprehensive sex education.
That's right.
So parents, if you're concerned about the sexual health of your children, I encourage you, all you have to do is get informed. It's not that hard. It's not hard to learn about how STDs are contracted. It's not hard to learn and to teach your children to refrain from sexual activity. It's called parenting. It's not that hard. And our kids, they are hungry for parents' leadership. They're hungry for us to speak to them. someone made a comment saying that, kids roll their eyes at their parents when they talk about sex because it's so awkward. Well, yeah, it is awkward, and who cares? Our kids roll our eyes at us all the time. Take out the trash, they roll their eyes. It doesn't matter. That's not going to stop us. Courageous parents don't stop because our kids roll their eyes. A courageous parent talks to their children about marriage, dating, relationships, their identity, their self-concept. And yes, talking about sex. We talk about that, and there is no the talk. It doesn't happen once. It's a lifelong conversation, and better it be the parent who loves their child, who's their greatest advocate, and who has their very best in mind, than a stranger whose ultimate goal is just to implement comprehensive sex education in the school. That's not enough. It's not enough.
Thank you. I'm inspired. I remember I used to tell my parents, I would say, I'm blessed to have your child for 1 year. You have them for the rest of your life. Don't you want the best for them? Get engaged. You're their first teacher. I had parents ask me, do you mean I can say that? Yes! You're the parent. Oh, do you mean that they don't have to read that book? No! Say something. They're yours. Take them back.
Yeah.
Amen. Take your children back. Opt out of sex education and all of the indoctrination.
Yes.
Whether it's SOGI, whether it's social justice, all these other agendas that they're trying to enlist and groom your children. Say no. Say, teach them to read, write, and do math, and I will teach the rest.
Yes.
Now we have Mary Elizabeth from Texas Values to add.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much to Jennifer Fleck and Monica Cline for their inspiring speeches and all the information that they shared tonight. My name is Mary Elizabeth Castle, and I'm the Policy Advisor for Texas Values, the largest organization in the state that stands for faith, family, and freedom. I'm here to talk about the sex education curriculum and what AISD has done with the parents, and that is keep them in the dark and not inform them. From what I understand, the school board is choosing to comply with the new law, SB 22, that prohibits purchases from Planned Parenthood. However, the scope and sequence requirements that are still on the website are not okay, and plagiarizing what was in the Planned Parenthood curriculum will not be okay. Over 1,500 Austin citizens, and we have tracked this at Texas Values, over 1,500 Austin citizens have contacted the school board in opposition to the sex education. And some of their problems are with the following: teaching kids as young as 7 and 8 about sexual orientation, and 12-year-olds about gender identity. Having third grade materials come from the politically biased and indoctrinating group LISTEN, which stands for Gay, Lesbian, and Straight Education Network. And in 5th grade, they tell kids who have been abused that they cannot say the gender of the sexual predator who molested them. That right there is obstruction of justice for kids who are victims of sexual abuse. The problem is with the parents not being informed. All of this curriculum was passed over without the parents having an opportunity to look at it. And as we saw at the last school board meeting, many parents from all parts of Austin, from all different backgrounds, are against the sex ed curriculum. So it's time for us to stand up to the board, tell them to go back to the drawing board, and give parents another opportunity to give their input on what their children should be taught. Our own Texas Values team member had to pull his son out of the schools, out of Austin ISD, because of what was being taught, because he didn't have a say. He had to take time out of his work day at our organization to go and view the curriculum, where they only had one copy. Over 50 parents only had to view one copy over the curriculum. It's time for the AISD to be accountable for parents, and this begins in October when they go back to the drawing board. Thank you.
For any more information, please go to our website, concernedparentsoftexas.com, and we have opt-out forms that you should use on our website, and AISD offers opt-out forms just as they legally should, which they started doing once we got involved. Because before that, there were none.
Wow.
That's right.
Yeah.
Hay formas, hay cartas. Usted puede ir al internet para decir a ese distrito, yo voy a enseñar a mis hijos de mi casa. Ustedes, por favor, de enseñar a leer, a hacer matemáticas y lectura. Thank you for coming, everyone.
Thank you.